Hey again, everybody. It's Steve here again from Charlie Noise Games and Collectibles. Just got back with another Mail Day video. A little bit of a weird one this time. Again, cumulative purchases from one seller over the course of the last little month or so. This bloke here, Gene Johnson, who's a very well-known MTG seller in Australia. Recently, actually, Moist Critical had a video out about an Australian bloke who dug up a bunch of almost a near complete alpha set of Magic the Gathering and was trying to get his cards graded over in the US and spent a good deal of time trying to convince people that it was genuine and ultimately ended up going through this seller here because he's just such a well-known sort of figure in the MTG space in Australia. In a bid to find somebody who would take on that responsibility, well worth watching if you can find it on YouTube. Well, yeah, I suppose if you just look up Moist Critical on YouTube and grading a Black Lotus or whatever it was, I'm sure you'll find it. Anyway, this is a bit of a weird one in that I know what's in here. There's nothing of any sort of particular value really. It's mostly sort of small stuff. A little bit of kind of low-end reserve list sort of gear for my collection over here. Which I'm happy to sort of run through that with you. No legends in this particular lot. But I say that it's weird in that I know there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of basic lands in here from various sets. I've alluded to it in the past, but the way that I like to engage with Magic is I like to draft and I like to play sealed. That is my game. I don't really play standard. I don't really play Commander even. I like to play draft, and so I collect. I collect sets as they come out. I get one of each rare and mythic. I get a play set of each common and uncommon, and I make repacks so I can recreate that kind of draft experience for each set as it comes out. I've done sort of right up to about Lord of the Rings. There's a few sets missing sort of between kind of OG Ixalan and Lord of the Rings, but sort of mostly there. Right up through Innistrad, Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, and then sporadically from then until Lord of the Rings. But in opening, particularly Dominaria and Dominaria United and the Lord of the Rings, I didn't get enough copies of each of the of each of the full art basic lands. So there's quite a few of those in here. I know that for a fact. But outside of that, we're going to go on a little bit of a journey because I can't remember quite what I've got in here. Let's see if I can get them out. The sleeve doesn't want to come. So a couple of little speculative kind of things like I talked about last time, the things that once upon a time were sort of fairly expensive, that have copped reprints and have since sort of gone down in price. So we've got the Monastery Mentor here, which is a sort of white red prowess aggro kind of thing, which pre-reprint was, up around the $30-$40 mark. So getting these for, $3 a pop. There's no harm in having a few of them. Off chance that the well runs dry and the demand remains and the price goes up. So I'll just pop that in a little box for later. Here's some of those basic lands that I was talking about. So I've got the. You know what? Let's see if I can fix my lighting. Hang on a second. That's a no. I think all the things that can be on are on, so it's going to be a little bit shadowy, I'm afraid. I'll sort of hold them at a little bit of an angle so we can see a bit better without too much glare. But yeah, full art Dominaria United Forest in foil, and then full art Mountain. Unfortunately, Mountain the most sort of expensive of the stained glass lands, but also happened to be the one that I have the least of. So anyway, that's one more for the collection, and then Breathstealer's Crib. So this is one of those reserve list lands that I was not lands, reserve list cards that I was talking about. This one's in sort of fairly rough shape. I'm sure you can see that there. Big old bend in the bottom corner there. Not amazing, but also didn't pay a lot for it, so doesn't really matter. Buying these cards, so the way that this bloke operates is that essentially every day he'll throw up a number of listings on Facebook. Often several thousand cards, 1,000 cards in a day, and anything above like the $4 mark, he will annotate on the card itself, or on the sleeve that the card's sitting in, the condition of the card, whether it's near mint or if it's damaged or whatever. Anything less than that, he'll do sort of multi-buys on cards that are $4, $3, $2 on various days as well. And it's basically you just get a photo of the front of the card, and it's like, this is $4, and you can choose to buy it or not, basically. And more often than not, they come in and they're in fine condition. But every now and then you'll get one like this that, eye appeal from the front. It's really difficult to see, especially a sort of static photo. It's only when you receive it and sort of turn it over and see it in the light that you see that it's got that damage to it. But I'm also not that fussed because I probably only paid $3 for it, so it's not a big deal. I'll still just chuck it in the box and we'll be happy. Mist Dragon, I don't have any copies of this. Well, I didn't have any copies of this prior to today. This is from Mirage, another reserve list card, Minnow. We'll throw them in the binder in a little sack. As well as those, there's a few kind of 7th edition foils, which is another little sort of project that I'm working on. I don't know if I'll ever sort of get around to finishing it. But, who knows what the future may hold. There's no harm in getting these. They're sort of relatively cheap. But I'm certainly not going to be working too heavily towards, a set of 7th edition foils when I'm also trying to complete a set of Legends. I think priorities dictate that I go for the Legends first, and then if I still have that burn, then I'll start focusing a little bit heavier on the 7th edition foils. But I'll still get the cheaper ones while I can. I'm not rushing out to spend hundreds of dollars on anything though. Another Monastery Mentor there in foil. Elvish Harbinger, I like these. This is the silver screen foil. You could only get these in the holiday edition of the Lord of the Rings booster boxes, collector booster boxes, sorry. And these are cheap, but very limited in their availability. They're sort of fairly common within the box themselves, but the box was such a limited print that I just like them. I like the foiling effect on them. I don't quite know what I'll do with it. Sort of similar story to the Surge foils from the Warhammer decks. I just like to have them because they're a bit unique, a bit of a rarity, and who knows what tomorrow may bring. You know what I mean? So I'll just pop that over there. And Guahir, same deal. Silver screen foil from the scroll treatment from the holiday edition collector decks from collector box from the Lord of the Rings sets. And this is another going back to completing sets and recreating draft and sealed experience. This is I believe the last card that I'm after from Strixhaven, the last main set card that I needed from it. I've got all the the Mystical Archives as well, but I do not have all of the Japanese Mystical Archives. That's still a bit of a work in progress, and it's becoming a bit of a expensive prospect in that the Japanese Mystical Archives I'm trying to get in the rainbow foil. So, when you're looking at Demonic Tutor, I think that runs about $600 or $700. So, it's a bit of a spicy meatball. So, we'll see. Priorities may change as we go on. I'll pop that over there. Mutilate. Oh, speaking of Warhammer Commander deck Surge foils, there's Mutilate from that. Another 7th edition foil. This one got a little bit of clouding on it, unfortunately. The Grapeshot Catapult, I think, was in good. Yeah, that's pristine. This is one of the things with the old border foils. Really hard to see in photos. It's only after you sort of get them and you get that sort of angled look at them in the light that you can actually sort of pick up what's called clouding, which is an effect on the surface, the foiled surface on the cards. Gives it a sort of not speckled, but like a leopard print kind of uneven wear kind of pattern on it, which affects the value of them. Obviously, I mean this is an invaluable. Like it's not a particularly valuable card, not invaluable. The other thing. So it doesn't really matter too much, and the eye appeal on it once again is quite good. But if you're looking for near mint, you could buy that sort of on Facebook Marketplace or on an MTG group, and expect it to sort of come in and be in good quality condition, only to find that it does have this clouding, and that is a risk you take ultimately when you're buying those older foils. Boromir, Warden of the Tail. This particular sort of showcase border, I don't have this card in this border yet, so that'll go into the set later on, which is just sort of sitting up in a bench up there. On a shelf. Another Indomitable Creativity, same deal as the Monastery Mentor. Once Upon a Time, expensive card, reprinted in the ancillary sheet on Thunder Junction. The breaking news in Thunder Junction, and that's driven the price of those down. But Once Upon a Time, that's a $40 card, and it's at Mythic as well. So if it finds its home in a couple of decks, or it really could only go in sort of one or two, but if it finds playing multiple formats, and that's going to be the thing that sort of saves it. But yeah, I still like it. I think it's worth having for $3. Put it with the rest of them and see what happens. Dominating Lizard. So we are another reserve list card here. I've got a couple of copies of this. This is a nice pristine one actually. It's in quite good nick, so maybe I'll swap one of the other ones out. It's completely unplayed. Another Monastery Mentor, non-foil this time. Lodestone Bauble. Also in quite good condition. Yeah, nothing wrong with that one. Another reserve list from Alliances this time. And then we've got... what is this one called? Lightning Helix, right? Yeah. Sort of standard legal currently. So this is just the etched foil version. This is the one that you sort of get from the Strixhaven collector decks in the non sort of rainbow foil. Now I feel like I was misled here because the picture of this just had foil, not etched foil. So, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll unsell it. Hard to know. I'll sort of keep it as a placeholder until I get a rainbow foil version. We'll plonk that there, and then Memory Lapse. I reckon this one is in the Japanese rainbow foil there. That's nice. All right, happy with that one. And then another one, just silver screen foil, assemble the Entmoot. So that's the other thing as well. It's like these commander cards. So this obviously wasn't from the main set, so it's only attainable in the Commander decks, and then in that sort of Commander deck slot in the collector boosters from the set as well. So limited, difficult to get this particular copy of it. So I like to have it. And we'll just put that away. And whatever happens with it, happens with it. Again, none of these have ever sort of broken the bank. So if nothing ever happens with those cards, if they just sort of sit steady or decline in value, it's not the kind of thing that really bothers me that much. Another Ritual of the Machine. I think I picked up a few copies of this last time, actually. There's another one here, so I haven't paid that much money for this one. That's quite scuffed, actually. I don't know if you can see that on the back there. This is why it's always important, sort of, when you're buying cards off, off the internet. Once you make contact with the seller, it's worth sort of seeing if they will give you an angled photo in the light of the card, because to look at it sort of front on, it doesn't actually look too bad. It's only once you tilt it in the light that you can see that it's met a few tables without any sort of sleeve on there. So, but again, hasn't cost me a lot of money, so I'll just pop that over there with the damaged one. Now this is from Theros, Beyond Death, foil island. Now in my cold-blooded reptilian haste, I bought this thinking it was the Dominaria United island, and it's clearly not. So I'll probably on-sell this. I don't know. Just so I get my money back for it, or I'll keep it. I'm not sure, because Theros is one of the sets that I've got. I'll just have a look through the land box from it and see how many foil islands I've got. I may keep it. I may not. We'll see. Time will tell. And then another mountain. This one is actually from Dominaria United. And then Goblin Bomb from Weatherlight. This is one of the very few reserve list cards from Weatherlight that I don't have. I'm starting to sweat it up. That's probably not good for it. But yeah, that's in tidy condition. This is one of those ones that I never retained it. Like, I never really sort of got a copy of it, because just looking at it, I never quite understood why it had the price tag attached to it that it did, outside of being reserve list. There's another one, a Cursed Scroll from Tempest. I can't bring myself to pay $40 for a card that I just can't see where it would get played, if that makes sense to you. It's such a niche effect, and it's so obviously unplayable in Commander, not Goblin Bomb, but Cursed Scroll, having to name cards that you think might be in the other person's hand. I guess if they tutor something and then show you, then you could do it. But it's as an ongoing enchantment, like they could see that you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it seems like one of those reserve list cards that should cost $2. You know what I mean? Not $45. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, and if I am, please let me know. But it's not played in any sort of decks that I'm aware of. Yeah. Here's another reserve list card that is cheap. And this, every now and then, when decks, dragons become a main feature of a set, this guy, Rashford the Scalebane, occasionally gets a little bit of value and sees a little bit sort of, I don't know if it ever sees any play, but people certainly speculate on it, thinking that maybe it might. So yeah, I don't have a copy of this until now, so now I do. I'll pop it in with its brethren in the folder, and we can have a look at that shortly, as this is the last little stack of cards here. Detonate, also into them vintage. This one from Antiquities. I don't think I've got a copy of this yet. Minnow, inexpensive card, but yeah, just because it's inexpensive doesn't mean I don't want it. And then a couple of more reserve list cards from Alliances here. So Keldron Outpost. I think I said on a previous video that I like to have sort of a couple of copies of these reserve list cards. So this is only my second copy of Keldron Outpost, and then second copy of Phyrexian Devourer as well. You can get them for if you can find them for a decent price and they're in good condition, then they're not the kind of thing that you have to sort of save up for necessarily. Each of those cards about $20 to $25, I think. Polluted Bonds, we talked about this last Mail Day video as well. This is just another one of those ones that became expensive just based on its rarity, I think. Was seeing play, but there were so few copies of it, but then it got reprinted in this Enchanting Tales kind of thing. This set in Wilds of Eldraine, and it drove the price way down, but I just buy them up. Same as Indomitable Creativity and Monastery Mentor and stuff. There's still a limited sort of amount of them on the market. They still see play. Eventually, the market will, the supply will dry up, hopefully, and the desire will still be there, and the price will ideally go up. But again, even if it doesn't, no big deal. Doesn't. I'm not going to become homeless because of it. Aphia Grove, this was $2. $2. I just don't have a copy of it. I don't expect much from it. Just want it for the reserve list collection. So, and then a couple of full art sort of map lands from Lord of the Rings. Which I'll just pop off to the side. And then we've got, what is this called? Another Mystical Archive Japanese. This one is in foil as well. This is, I actually know what it's called. I just can't remember the word. Oh, that's so frustrating. Yeah, all right. If it comes back to me, I'll say it. But that's and then a couple of copies of Second Chance as well. So I picked these up sort of reasonably cheap as well. I think there's only a couple of dollars each, right on the, probably $3 or $4 each, I think. Just to have them again, reserve list, limited run, old. Why not? Hey, Anyway. I'll plonk those off to the side. Let's have a quick look at this folder here. So sort of hefty sort of bloke. Let me see here. I don't know. Can't really sort of see it very well. I don't want to go squishing the cards that I've sort of got on the table. Lighting's not real good. But yeah, as you can see, we've got just a collection of kind of reserve list cards from all the different sets. I'm still missing, I've still got a few Grail cards that I need to get a hold of, but most of them are sort of reasonably complete. I mean, you see there, we've got, a couple of copies of Lake of the Dead there. I've got the Thorin Glaciers. There we go. So you can see at the top there, Shallow Grave and Tombstone Stairwell. And then you've got your LED over in the other corner, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Don't know if you saw that. But yeah, once you get over to the Urza's stuff, that's where a couple of holes kind of become evident. I don't have a Gaia's Cradle. It's one of my Grail cards. I'm sort of working towards it, and I suspect I will have it one day. But it's a question of, am I going to get there before the next bump in reserve list pricing? People seem to think that maybe vintage and reserve list Magic is maybe it will never come back, but I just don't believe that. People sort of, the recent thing has been, the lack of sort of nostalgia that people who are into vintage and reserve list Magic the Gathering are kind of aging out of it. And while I am of that sort of age demographic, I'm in my 40s, I'm relatively new to the game. I only started playing in 2017, and I knew literally nothing about Magic the Gathering prior to that point. But my real draw has been vintage and reserve list. I'm in love with this stuff, and I cannot get enough of it. And I'd be very surprised if I was the only one. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to endure, you know. Particularly if you start looking at the price of things like revised dual lands and Mox Diamond and the Grim Monolith, for example. Like those are at essentially all-time highs now. Their prices currently are rivaling the prices that they were getting during the COVID boom. They saw a little bit of a dip. Yeah, they sort of downtrended for a little while, but then they hit their nadir around Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and then they've been slowly but surely heading up. Speaking of Mox Diamond, there we go. There's one copy of that. That one's actually quite nice, but I do want the FTV version of it as well. There's probably the two cards that I want the most. Would be the FTV Mox Diamond, the foil, and the Gaia's Cradle. If I can get those, I'll be happy, sure. But you know, that won't be the be all end all of it. I think, you know. I don't think that'll stop me from carrying on getting more stuff. You know, I haven't got a Gilded Drake yet. I haven't got a Survival of the Fittest. So there's still plenty of things to get. And then, of course, you've got all the Judge promo stuff as well. So, speaking of Survival of the Fittest, Judge promo Survival of the Fittest, the Judge promo Foil Gaia's Cradle, the Judge promo Wheel of Fortune. Man, there's no end to it. And, you know, I want it. Give me the stuff. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we'll leave it there. Like I say, there wasn't anything, you know, overly exciting in that little collection that I picked up, that I've just opened. But it is all stuff that I want. So, you know, I'm going to spend the rest of the evening sleeving that gear up and popping it into the binder, or, you know, swapping out for condition and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. Oh, hang on. Here we go. Here's just sort of 7th edition foils as well. You know, work in progress. I don't have many of them, but and I don't have any of the sort of the key cards. You know, there's no Sarah Angels in there, and there's no City of Brass. There's no BOP. You know, but you know, I like them. There's no harm in accumulating them. We've got room in the binder, so why not, eh? All right. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Catch you. Bye.